First of all, thank you, Sharon. I've never come so calm to the talk. I think I'm going to try that for the future. Okay, I'll be disobedient for just a second. Sharon said this isn't a meeting about anniversaries and about the past. I do have to say a word, though, about history. As you can imagine, this has been a difficult political season for those of us invested in Hispanic Health. And you know, I always get inspiration from our members. And I had one member CEO tell me, yeah, it's difficult. They said, you know, you think too much about what needs to get done, and what's missing, and what the future needs to be, what we need to do, and what we need to do, and what we need to do. And much like that exercise, I said, I want you to just take 5 minutes and think about what would have happened, and actually this is my 30th anniversary at my organization. What would have happened if you hadn't walked into those doors? What would not have happened? What would not have happened if we all hadn't done the work we're doing? So I think 30 years is an extraordinary milestone. And it's important as we look to the future to realize what we've done in the past, because that means we can have an impact on the future. It's an extraordinary thing, as you stand here today, that genetics is not that kind of also-ran topic in health. It's not that peripheral kind of consideration. You know, for the first time in my history, genetics is centered toward discussion of health and well-being. And that's an extraordinary achievement. That's changing attitudes, that's changing systems, that's changing individuals, and that is changing the future. So there's much to be proud of in the 30 years of Genetic Alliance, and I think what it tells us is that change can happen for the future. So what we conceive today can be the future tomorrow. Just a few words. As we're going to talk about stereotypes, I'll let you know a little bit about my biases going into this, and a little bit about the Alliance. Our mission is best health outcomes for all. This is new for us. We actually took the word out of Hispanic. We took the word Hispanic out of our mission. And we came to that quite purposely. Because for us, we've always been about the communities we live in, and about raising the communities we live in. And the communities we live in over certainly the 30 years I've been at the Alliance, and since the Alliance has been in existence, have changed. We're much more diverse communities, however you look at it economically, racially, family structures. We're diverse communities. And for us, our mission really is about health, best health outcomes for all, because when outcomes are raised for one of us, they're raised for all of us. These are our members, both individuals and organizations, and the thing that really binds us together is really this belief in community-based solutions, and that is our bias. Just so you know, we're also in a couple of other organizations. The Healthy Americans Foundation, which is about human and financial capital, and the Healthy Americans Institute, which we recently established at the USC School of Medicine, which is where we base our research. And this is really kind of how it ended up. We went through a group exercise, and this is how we describe ourselves. You know, no one element's getting us there. And for all of us, it's all of us working together for strong, healthy communities. And thinking about what I wanted to talk to you about today, really I wanted to make sure that you knew a little bit about our numbers. And the first thing I thought about that I wanted folks to know was a little bit of history. Because the facts of history seem to be out of the forefront of a lot of public discussion at the moment. For us, it didn't start with Jamestown. We were here a long time before. I traced my history from South Texas. I traced my history to Captain Blas Maria de Adolph Falcón. I never crossed a border. That border crossed me. You know? And I think we forget that. I think it's also important that you know, depending on how you look at the numbers, about 90% of the Hispanic population is not a new immigrant population. About 90% of the Hispanic population is a legal population who's lived in the U.S. It's a large population, about 59.1 million Hispanics. Right now in the U.S., one thing you might want to know is that when you look at census numbers, and they talk about the percentage of Hispanics in the U.S., that actually does not include Puerto Rico, which is kind of an odd thing, saying that Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens, have died in a higher percentage in U.S. wars, a whole range of issues. Right now, about 1 in 6 individuals, 1 in 4 children, and 56% of the population grew up with a lot of census. So very much the future of health is very intimately tied to the growth of the Hispanic population and to the diversity of communities. And you know, a lot of people talk about diversity as a barrier. Well, you know, we can't do a national program. There's just too many different constituencies. You know, we can't do a program that reaches all Hispanics. Univision would disagree. Because you know, you're just too diverse. The fact of the matter is, non-Hispanic whites are a pretty diverse population. Appalachia is very different from Santa Barbara, California. I also put that first slide up because the process of inclusion is often very important to consider in terms of the relationship to the U.S. and generational differences are exceedingly important. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Some of the commonalities, there's of course Spanish. We refer to it as broadcast Spanish. It's what Univision broadcasts every night. But that varies very much by generation. Religion tend to be Christian, large percent Catholic. That's also changing. But these values of family, loyalty, education, respect, these are all things that really define the Hispanic experience. Now, one thing you probably heard about us that we're a youthful population, high birth rate, growing. The other thing you probably don't know about us is we're having an aging boom. Hispanics are the largest growing population of elderly in this country. I'll get to the reason for that in a little bit. The other thing you probably might not have heard about is labor force growth. By 2020, Hispanic participation in the labor force is expected to grow by 7.7 million workers. For non-Hispanic whites, it's going to decrease by 1.6 million. I say that because it's very important in terms of how we treat issues of education right now, participation in the labor force. It's going to have an extraordinary impact on the economic well-being of the country in the future. The other thing I want to just mention is the Affordable Care Act and health insurance. The Hispanic population didn't do as well under the Affordable Care Act. In fact, about 1/3 of Hispanics today are still uninsured. I say that because as health advocates, we often think about health from a national policy perspective. But we have to be a little bit humble here and remember that health really happens at states and localities. And the reason Hispanics did not do well with the Affordable Care Act largely has to do with the fact that Florida and Texas did not expand Medicaid. Local decisions that are having a national impact for the Hispanic community. And I think to go forward, it's really enticing to think that we can change things with one federal piece of legislation. But the action really is at the state and the local level. A word about language. This has changed in the 30 years I've been in the Alliance. We started very much being advocates for Spanish language materials, separate Spanish language materials, how to do things in Spanish. The relationship of the Hispanic community with language has changed, and has changed very much by generation. And you can see speaking English very well between first and third generation is a very different kind of picture. So our approach to language actually aligns, as we don't do materials any longer in English and Spanish. We do materials in a bilingual way. Because we often find, we're multi-generational families, and you have an adult child taking care of the parent. They're communicating to the parent in Spanish, but their Spanish just might not be so great. So they appreciate having the English side so they can figure out what they're actually saying in Spanish to help the parent. So this kind of bilingual approach has become very important. But language is not very popular in the US right now. Monolingualism is the norm, and the relationship of the country to language is one of the reasons I think that Hispanics don't fare as well as they should in this country. But it's a deficit to us, I think, internationally. I think one of the other things from today's lectures that's kind of interesting is we often say listening is a lost art in this country. And that has a real implication for healthcare. But besides Spanish and English, there's a third language in the Hispanic community, and that's mobile. Hispanics tend to use technology at a rate higher than other communities, and we use mobile technology at a much higher rate than other communities. That has real implications for healthcare, particularly since we're much more likely than other communities to use mobile technology for education, and in particular for health. Given all that, though, when we talk about Hispanics, what really defines them is not language. It's really this whole set of interconnected values. And that's what connects us to the country, that's what connects us as Americans. And that really is where we can build. Now, the challenge for quality is we're always told, well, you've done well if you as a provider can say, I don't see color. I want you to see color. I am different than any other patient you're going to see. I want you to see a technicolor. And really the path that we try to get to is this whole idea of cultural proficiency. And it's important to understand differences because one of the issues you might not know is, because we're always hearing about the minority deficit model, the fact of the matter is that Hispanics live longer than any other population group. So when we do things like helping people 2020 or standards of what is the best health outcomes, why is it always that we measure against non-Hispanic what? Seems to me in terms of life expectancy, I want everybody to look like Hispanics in this country. And the reason your work is so important, this is just 2 months old now, one of the major reasons it turns out that Hispanics have a longer life expectancy is at a genetic level. We age slower at a genetic level than other population groups. Understand that is critical not only for health of Hispanics, but I would say for health of all population groups. It's also important to understand this whole idea of one size does not fit all. When you look at common medicines today, for a pretty big percentage of the population, one medicine certainly does not fit all. But that's not how we're developing public policy right now. The big reason that one size medicine doesn't fit all has a lot to do, in part, with genetics. It also to do with the environment, and it has to do with culture. And that's really, at that intersection, is where you find health. But given that genetics is so important, still, when you look at our genetic database, only 4% is non-European descent. And there are important discoveries to be made. If we're finding that Hispanics are aging slower, having a longer life expectancy, and that genetics is a big part of that, what are we missing when our genetic database is 96% European descent? This is not an issue about inclusion and about equity. This is not a civil rights issue. This is an issue of good science. I would put to you that that pie chart means right now in genetics, we're doing bad science. And we've got to flip that chart around. And it's not because we're not willing to participate in research. When you go and you ask folks, are you willing to participate? Hispanics are more likely to say they're willing to participate in clinical research. I remember I got a huge R01 study at the National Cancer Institute just to go and talk to Hispanic women with breast cancer and understand their experience. And I was stunned when I asked, when we asked, why don't you participate in clinical trials? And they said, nobody asked me. That was the big finding. But we have a challenging world in getting out information. These two things have in common. These are the most searched for internet. So the internet's a great tool for getting out help, but you're competing. And you need to understand how to deliver trusted information in a good way that reaches people. And that really means about personalizing the information, understanding people live in informed communities. We expect information like we expect our deliveries from Amazon next day, quickly, and redundancy does matter. And good health happens when we combine all the pieces, the head, the heart, and engagement. And I would just end with this. The work we do is important in science. Science needs to change, our understanding needs to change. One of my favorite slides from the 1989 Merck manual. Arsenic for diabetes, tobacco for asthma, for pain, for chest pains, and cannabis for insomnia. Thank God science changes, and thank God you're here to help science change for the better. Thanks so much.